Creating a unique and authentic voice for your characters is an essential part of writing compelling fiction. Whether you're writing a short story or a novel, your characters' voices need to be distinct and believable in order to engage your readers. But how do you find that unique voice? Well, thanks for asking. In this video, we'll discuss some tips and tricks for developing your characters' voices and making them stand out from the crowd. Step 1 is creating a backstory. One of the best ways to develop your character's voice is to create a backstory. This backstory should include details about the character's upbringing, relationships, and overall life experience. By understanding your character's background, you'll be able to better understand how they would speak and interact with others. For example, if your character grew up in a wealthy family and attended an elite private school, they may have a more refined way of speaking than someone who grew up in a working class neighborhood. Similarly, if your character has experienced trauma or hardship, they may speak in a more guarded or defensive manner. Step number 2, using dialogue. Another way to develop your character's voice is through their dialogue. Pay attention to how your character speaks to one another, how they interact with others. Do they use slang or profanity? Are they verbose or succinct? Do they interrupt others or listen carefully? Creating unique speech patterns and quirks can also help to differentiate your characters. For example, one character may use a lot of metaphors in their speech, while another may speak in short, clipped sentences. These details can add depth and complexity to your characters and make their voices more distinct. Number 3, experimenting with points of view. Finally, experimenting with points of view, or POV, however you want to say it, can also help you find your character's voice. Writing from different perspectives can give you a better understanding of each character's unique voice and personality. For example, if you're writing a novel with multiple POV characters, try writing a scene from one character's perspective and then rewriting it from another character's perspective. By doing this, you'll be able to compare and contrast the different voices and get a better sense of each character's personality. You may even discover new aspects of your characters that you hadn't considered before. In conclusion, creating a unique and authentic voice for your characters is crucial for engaging your readers and bringing your story to life. By creating backstories, using dialogue, and experimenting with POV, you can develop your characters' voices and make them stand out from the crowd. Keep experimenting and trying new things, and you'll soon find the perfect voice for your characters. Now you're probably wondering, that's great and everything, but what in the world does that absolutely have to do today, and why are there all these scenes of this one girl on screen? Well, thank you so much for asking. The reason why I bring up creating a unique character voice is because I really wanted to talk about Margo Hanson from The Magicians. The Magicians was a TV show on Sci-Fi that played up on the magical school Narnia Chosen Ones tropes. It was originally published as a book and was generally leaned heavy into the new adult fiction. New adult fiction, for those of you who might not know, is the step right after young adult, the 20-somethings in the crowd, if you would, who still want to really experience school because maybe they really didn't have a good time in it. Lev Grossman was actually the original writer for the Magician's books, which have since completed, as has the TV series on Sci-Fi. If you have Netflix, you should be able to watch all of the series now without any interruption. The reason, though, why I want to talk about Margo Hanson is twofold. 1, her character voice is beautifully unique, and 2, her character development throughout the series also influences how she speaks. When we first meet Margo, she's a party girl. She likes to drink and do drugs and party and do all kinds of stuff. That's her niche. That's something she particularly enjoys and loves doing. And she speaks a way a party girl speaks. There's likes, there's pauses, there's hair twirling, there's ums. By the end of season 1, going into season 2, the main cast has moved into officially being basically kings and queens of not really Narnia. And she is from a very affluent family. She's from such an affluent family that now she leans very hard on talking like that because that's how queens should act. She's still a party girl at heart. realistically, she's still a party girl, but now she uses her upbringing of affluence to pepper her speech. By season 3, we have now had a dire change in everything, is because fairies have taken over between season 2 and season 3, and they're causing a lot of mayhem and they take her eye. So she kind of drops the Queen act for a little bit and goes straight into savagery. Now this was kind of a surprise for me, is because she slipped into it so naturally. You come to find out later, her upbringing while affluent was based on affluence from more or less gruesome means. A nice way of saying it is, her family got where they were because of blood money, not because they were nice people. So they grew up in a system of you either kill or be killed. So she is very affluent and she presents herself that way, but the savagery comes naturally because she was raised in that environment. It's the reason why at the end of the series, when she's talking to an imaginary Elliot who's not even really there in the middle of the desert, she has a very realistic and convincing breakdown. And it's very, very heart-touching. For the record, hi Kitty. For the record, Elliot is her best friend, who is a gay man, who realistically knows that she's bisexual, but that doesn't really interrupt their friendship at all. In fact, it helps strengthen it because both of them I've seen as, well, to put it very politely, whores. They're seen as whores. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rough on that word, but it makes me giggle because I had a job like that once upon a time. No, I don't want to talk about it, I'm okay. The point of this video, long and short, is Margo Hanson is a very well-written character. The reason why I bring up how she's written is because throughout all of the seasons, she goes from being this ditzy glamour model to actually being a six-dimensional character, which I know sounds really hard to write, but it's really not. In order to write six-dimensional characters, even if the audience never gets to see it, you, the author, have to know everything about your characters. What I mean by this when I say you have to already know everything about your character is exactly that. You might end up writing a whole book of just a character's backstory before you even actually get to the part of writing the story. Now, I've heard some authors, right, who I'm friends with, say, no, I really didn't do that. I kind of let the character birth themselves and then added as I needed to, which is a way of writing. Some people plan every last meticulous detail out, and other people are just really letting the characters tell them where the story's going. There's not really a wrong way to write a character, because no character can technically be wrong. Most characters, even if they're side characters, fulfill purposes and functions in the story. Now, it doesn't mean that it's wrong that you don't have every last little detail planned out, but you should have the basics. Name, how they look, overall personality, and at least some vague notion of their background, so that way you have a way of referencing it throughout your book or books, depending on how you're going to write. It's not hard. It's hard, but it's not. What I mean by it is, but it isn't, is pretty simple. Your character, whether it's the main character or a side character, the audience doesn't have to know that you wung it, right? They don't have to know that you were rolling, like, D&D dice to figure out what was going on with certain things. They don't have to know that. They just want a complete and compelling character. Now, I've heard it said, right, that authors do not owe their readers books, which I agree. An author doesn't owe you, the reader, a conclusion to a story, especially if things happen. Like George R.R. Martin and the fact that people are still waiting on his final book, even though we don't know if it's ever coming because the date keeps getting pushed, which is fine. The point of this is, even if you, an author, do not owe your readers more books, you do in fact owe your readers, at the very least, a satisfying story. That's really all it is. It boils down to, are you going to be the author that just leaves them on an infinite cliffhanger, or are you going to, at the very least, give them a story that in itself is self-contained and, like, they can play around in it forever and ever, amen. It's the reason why The Magicians, even though it's over, I still love to go back and rewatch it, is because Margo and Elliot, as characters, have such wonderful chemistry together that I really have no reason whatsoever to be mad that the series is over. Did I like how the series ended? Kind of. Like, it made sense, but it's not how I wanted to end it. But again, that's very much on me being nitpicky. The fact that the series had a conclusion at all in this, the year of Our Lady Dolly Parton 2023, is in and of itself amazing, since so many series seem to get cut off at the knees before they even get a chance to run. I'll probably make a video on that, but no promises, because, yeah, I just don't have it in me for that. The reason why I bring this up is, like I said, twofold. Margo Hanson is a wonderful six-dimensional character, and I love the fact that she got to be a thing. I can't imagine a world where you didn't have the magicians. Now, for some of you who just straight up missed it, there is absolutely nothing I can say except, please, go watch it. It is the funnest shit ever. Oh my god, it is so much fun. But again, it's not hard to write a six-dimensional character. Actually making them really realistic isn't hard. Some people actually can make characters so believable just based off of, well, their own interpretations of stuff. Realistically, sometimes if you think to yourself as an author, oh man, this character isn't very well fleshed out and I don't really spend a lot of time on them, I hope my audience doesn't mind, go to fanfiction.net or AO3 or Wattpad or whatever else. Your readers will make up their own backstories, compelling as they are, and usually, sometimes, they just run with it. Even if it's never been canonically confirmed, if they honest to God believe that, no, this is gospel truth, and all of them agree on it, you've technically more or less created a six-dimensional character because they've done most of the work, and even if you never give the side character that only shows up to be funny more depth than that, doesn't matter. The fans have already completed it for you. Now, that does not mean, right? That does not mean ever, right, that you should be lazy and let your fans do 99% of the work. That's incredibly rude. But if you only put in the base work for a character because you're still waiting on more story or more books to keep them rolling and, like, build them up more, that's completely fine. But a compelling character is essential, which is why I started out the video with writing a good voice. Sometimes, even if a character is, like, thin as a piece of paper, if the voice that you've given them is compelling, some people can really latch on to that. They can make up their own elaborately wild theories, which is great. It's the reason why writing is always one of those things where writing is rewriting. Because you'll go back and rewrite stuff because you think, no, that's not how I want this to sound. I can think of something better. But then it also comes a time where you can only rewrite so much to the point where you're just procrastinating, and you know you're procrastinating, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the thing, and it's okay. It really is okay. Like I said, there's no badly written characters. Now, there's bad authors, right? There's a big difference. You can have a horrible author, but all the characters that they've made are wonderful. But there's no actually bad characters. Even characters that are written to be villains are not bad. The only bad character is a character that literally serves no purpose. Even if their only purpose in the story is just really quick comedic relief for the audience, or to be an audience insert to ask the no shit obvious questions. It's good. It's actually really good. It's fine. It's unbelievably amazing. The reason, again, that I like to talk about writing is because I find that we've got into this mentality of we're not allowed to share answers with people. Like, nope, I had to struggle for it, so you should struggle for it. I don't think life should be like that. If you've got an answer, my man, give it. Like, you're gonna help people, because if somebody else gets the answer, they might discover something else, and they'll pay your good deed forward. You shared with me something that was really obvious that skipped me. Maybe this skipped other people. Let me share it with them. It's a good compromise. It's really good writing to share stuff with people. So, in conclusion, number one, very important. Make your characters have a unique and compelling voice, that way the audience and readers can actually be compelled to watch and listen or read, depending on which one they're going to do, or how you get your stuff off the ground, your characters. Number two, Even if your character is bland as a piece of paper, so long as the voice is good, your audience will probably latch on to them because they want to see more of the character. And if you don't do it, by golly, they'll do it. Number 3, watch The Magicians if you haven't. Margo Hanson is a gem. She's beautifully written, she's beautifully well done. Her actress did an amazing job of bringing her to life. I cannot stress enough how much I love this show. I cannot stress enough how much it is very important to write your characters like they're real people. Even if all of it is fiction, write like they're real characters and your audience will believe they're really real too. That's the reason why some stories that have been over for forever still have fan fiction being made about them, is because the fans of that still have more stuff to explore. They're going all out with it because it's compelling and it brings them joy. That's just really what writing is. The thing that's been living in your head for forever, that commanded you to put it down onto paper, has now been breathed life so grand that it's infected other people to also keep breathing life into it. That's what's amazing about writing. What's amazing about art. If you're gonna write, do it good. And if you're just going to read, man, maybe it'll convince you to take up writing too. That's it. That's all I really wanted to say. A big shout out to the patrons, the subscribers, to the friends who sit here and listen to me prattle on while I read my scripts to them, and a big shout out to my editor, even though he's no longer editing for me, because he's still my friend and I love him very much. Also, a big shout out to all of you who maybe found this video by complete accident. I know I wouldn't be able to do any of this without you, and I really do appreciate you guys showing up and giving my videos the time of day. That being said, I hate to do this because I think it's the most annoying thing in the world, but if you could hit that subscription button or a like or share, that'd be really amazing, so that way I continue to grow my channel and I can continue to make these videos in my spare time now that I've gotten a new job. Again, a big thank you and a big shout out to everybody that I've said, and I hope all of you have an amazing rest of your day or weekend or lunch break if you just happen to be here on your lunch. I hope all of you are doing amazing. Bye!